Detainees on Manus Island have been told they face removal from an active PNG military base if they refuse to leave the detention center, and locals report police squads have armed themselves like they are going to war. Detainees have also alleged local men started looting the center once staff departed. The Australian-run Immigration Detention Centre was scheduled to close by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, but no immediate action was taken against the 600 remaining refugees. The situation threatens to devolve as about 600 refugees and asylum seekers refuse to leave the centre and local Manutian people protest about the cohort's resettlement in their community. For several months, refugees and asylum seekers have been told they must move into alternative accommodation in nearby communities, as the centre was shut down around them. In recent days, food packs were distributed with a warning there would be no more provided. Late on Monday night, a notice was put up inside the center telling detainees the center would be closed at 5 p.m. Tuesday. All power and water will cease, it said. There will be no food supplied and no dinner service this evening. All ICSA personnel will depart. From tomorrow, arrangements will be underway for the return of the site to the PNG Defence Force. Anyone choosing to remain here will be liable for removal from an active PNG military base. By midday on Tuesday, Australian Border Force Broad Spectrum and Wilson security staff members had reportedly left the island. The PNG security provider, Palladian, is believed to have at least 40 security officers fewer than it expected, after two groups of foreign hired employees were prevented from entering the country by the Immigration Department, which said Palladian had to hire locals. Several detainees separately alleged locals carrying machetes had arrived at the center and taken away fans, furniture and other items. The Guardian has seen footage and photos purported to show this but has not been able to confirm it. Aziz Adam told The Guardian local Manutians had arrived on foot and with cars to steal things. Abdul Mohammed told Australian Associated Press some of the locals have come inside and are stealing boxes, fire alarms, the fans. Some of them are taking the air conditioners. Ron Knight at Pontoon 2 Run My Boys advised that there is serious looting by locals and disgruntled workers not paid their entitlements. What a waste of money. October 31, 2017. In a translated message, one refugee said they had attempted to shut the center gates with wire in fear of attacks. Refugees have been catching rainwater using bins and containers for drinking. Behrouz Bouchani, a Kurdish-Iranian journalist inside the center, said detainees had been awake most of Monday night and were afraid to leave. He told The Guardian the situation was critical. "It's time I have to say SOS. Behrouz Bouchani, it's time I have to say SOS. The refugees are extremely scared. The situation is critical. Anytime we are expecting attack by Navy." October 31, 2017. On Tuesday night, he reported power had been cut in one of the compounds. Behrouz Bouchani, the power already cut in Oscar compound. The refugees are moving to Foxtrot right now. It's so dark and scary. October 31, 2017. Behrouz Bouchani, the Australian Gov is starving people to force them out. It's unacceptable and immoral that the Gov creates situation to starve people. October 31, 2017. Amnesty International investigators are in the area, monitoring the situation. The ECA Pacific researcher Kate Schutz said fear, confusion and tension were high among both the detainees and local people. A local community group we spoke to on Monday said there were 3 mobile squads and PNGDF squads, and their comment was PNG forces are arming themselves like it's a war, Schutz told The Guardian. It begs the question, who are they expecting a fight from? Refugees locals. The Australian Greens Senator Nick McKim was in Lorengau on Tuesday and told The Guardian he had seen large numbers of police and defence personnel on the street but could not make an assessment about how equipped they were, noting he had mostly seen vehicle convoys driving through town. McKim said he had grave fears for the safety of detainees and was heading to the detention centre, which he had permission to visit. The last staff have now been withdrawn from the center. There's nobody else in the center except detainees, he said. They are at the mercy of the PNG Navy, who stormed the center earlier this year. McKim said he was speaking with detainees who had barricaded themselves inside the base, where there was no food or drinking water, and major hygiene issues with essential services cut off and most toilets blocked. This is an humanitarian emergency driven by Pete Dutton and Malcolm Turnbull and acquiesced by the Australian Labor Party, he said. McKim said he was at a rally where about 100 locals were presenting a petition calling for Australia to take the refugees and asylum seekers. The Manus Alliance Against Human Rights Abuses has previously spoken about a lack of consultation with the Manus community, sparking fear of detainees. Human Rights Watch last week detailed numerous attacks on refugees and asylum seekers by groups of locals who were often armed and drunk, with at least 3 victims requiring medical transfer to Port Moresby or Australia. Locals have also protested against the building of refugee accommodation units on private land in communities, saying it was done without consultation. Both Schutz and McKim said the alternative accommodation units were not yet ready for residents. Footage taken by Amnesty International purported to show the Hillside House Center unfinished and full of shipping containers. Lawyers were expected to launch legal action over the closure in the PNG Supreme Court, alleging the detainees' human rights were being breached. There is also a developing stoush between the Australian and PNG governments over who is responsible for refugees and asylum seekers who want to settle in PNG. The IHMS clinic inside the centre has also closed. Staff have left and all medication and equipment has been removed. However, it is not clear whether the new clinic, to be housed at the East Lorentgau Transit Center, is operational. Manus Island immigration detainees pledge peaceful resistance. Video last week The Guardian reported IHMS had been contracted to stay on beyond Tuesday and continue to provide medical care to detainees. The length of the Manus Island services has not been defined, but a statement from IHMS said the Port Moresby Health Liaison services for detainees transferred from Manus would continue until the 28th of February. Questions to IHMS were referred to the Australian Immigration Department, which did not answer questions but said alternative accommodation was ready, with appropriate services and conditions similar to those at the centre. The manner of the centre's closure has sparked renewed protests in Australia and among advocates. Sam Neill at 2 Paddocks: "You have to get those poor bastards on Manus to safety today at Turnbull." Malcolm Like to Australia: "Do your humanitarian duty, man." October 30, 2017. The Labour immigration spokesman, Shane Newman, said Peter Dutton's failure to answer basic questions about arrangements in PNG after the closure of the regional processing centre has fueled refugees' uncertainty. Transferring refugees from one centre to another is not a long-term solution. These people urgently need viable third-country resettlement options. The independent MP Andrew Wilkie supported the calls for detainees to be brought to Australia for processing and resettlement if their refugees' claims were accepted. Make no mistakes, today's botched closure of the Manus Island Detention Centre is not good news for the nearly 750 men imprisoned there, Wilkie said. If the Australian government is going to lock people up in these camps, they at least have a duty of care to ensure that they are treated humanely and have access to basic medical facilities.